Of sharing, we're going to move on to our next speaker, who's Daniel Henry, and we're very honored that he's joining us today. He is an amazing textile talent who's been working for more than 20 years in the field, and he studied initially at Le Cambre, which of course is a fantastic textile school and fashion school in Belgium. And so we're excited to learn more about his work. He's not per se just a textile designer, but he's actually a textile researcher, giving many, many layers to his work. And he's going to be telling us all about his philosophy and his experiences. So we're really thankful to meet you, Danielle.
So my studio is based in Tournai in Belgium. It's a small city close to the French border. Tournai is very famous for the tapestries from the 15th and 16th centuries. So I've always been related to textile, and it's also important for me to be based in Tournai today. I was born there and raised there. So when I was 8 years old, I started figure skating. It really became my passion really quickly. For me, it was a really great school because I learned to fall and to stand up, and that happens many times. So it makes you really strong, and it's also a lot of hard work. It's a lot of loneliness, and it was also my first contact with costumes, and that's where I got the interest for the textile, for the movement, for the shine, the sequins, and all that kind of things. So I have a degree in textile creation. For the first 15 years of my career, I called myself a textile designer. And I've done a lot of consulting for the textile industry. And then 10 years ago, the situation was not good anymore for me. I was working more with my phone and with my laptop than with my hands. So I really wanted to change this. And also the seasons were going too quick. So I decided to focus on research and development. So today I'm working more on technical processes, and we've got much more time to develop the techniques. I've always done artisanal work for luxury brands, especially in couture. This is still a seasonal work, but the brands I'm working with don't do fashion show every season, so we've got more time to do developments. And I also have this artwork that is my personal work. So this is my studio. It's a screen printing studio. My approach to screen printing is not classical. I don't focus on colors and patterns, but more on the texture. And my work is quite minimal. Most of the time, I use only one screen per textile. Um, I like to talk about ennoblement because embellishment is too decorative for my work and finishing is too technical for my work. Ennoblement is giving nobility to the textile, but it's also elevating the spirit. So for me, it's really, that word is really important. When I use a pattern, the pattern needs to have an action. It's not about decoration. So ornamentation has never been central to my work. The pattern must do something like on the first image, you can see that the weave opens. On the second one, you see like a hammer effect. On the third one, you see a three-dimensional effect. So it's really about the texture and the function. So that's an example of one of the iconic fabrics from my studio. It's velvet that is fully covered and crackled by hand. So it's always several steps. So the first step is to apply the glue and then to sparkle the flakes of metallic, to brush the leftovers and to crackle by hand. So it's always a combination of screen printing and noblements. So this is one of my artworks with this fabric. It's a work about near-death experience with the white tunnel that we are supposed to see one day. I've been working quite a lot with Maison Margiela by John Galliano, and a few seasons ago, they were asking me for an oil spill coating, and I have proposed this version that is glossy coating on velvet. It's the same idea as the previous metallic one that you've seen, but just in transparent and gloss, super glossy. So today I have decided to talk to you about passages. So from one state to another, this is another artwork. It's made of latex. Latex for me is a material really close to the skin. It drapes really well. We can say it's liquid. And then I can transform it into two different. One is like the police. Most of the time, I work with three different processes. Either I can completely cover the textile, or I can work textile and then the transformed textile. In this case, the contrast between the and otherwise I use and so the transition between the original fabric and the print is much gradual and regular. I like to work with traditional textiles. So in this case, Maison Margiela wanted to transform this original Loden classical woolen felt, and they wanted to make it more technical. So we've done this super glossy coating. So one side is completely still natural and the other side is completely waterproofed. From flou to tailleur, in couture, in the workshop are very often divided into ateliers, one for soft materials and one for stiff materials. Lace is very often considered as a soft material and it drapes really well. So when I was working together with Sophie Alette, I really wanted to create some surprise. So for example, on the Chanel example, it's lace bonded onto spacer, and then the lace become much stiffer, and then the designers can create new shapes because of this. So that was really interesting. And the second image from Ballet is the same idea, but the lace is bonded onto a Japanese paper that is washable. From malleable to stiff. So I've been working a lot with synthetic starch. I'm of this generation that my grandmother used to have a very beautiful damask linen. and they were nicely starched and shiny, and the patterns were playing with the light, appearing and disappearing. So I really wanted to work with this technique, but to make it my own. So I've twisted it. Instead of putting it all over the fabric, I do designs. And by starching only parts of the textile, I have a contrast between soft and stiff. So you can do kind of articulated fabrics, origami kind, or on the third image, there is the pleated effect. The pleats come from the pattern. It's not like a pleated fabric. And this project became also industrial together with Pierre Frey and Benoît Création. I've been working a lot on trompe-l'œil also. So I had this request from Maison Margiela to make a fresh paint coating. That was a really hard work. It looks really simple, but most of the time it's very challenging. In this case, to get the fresh paint coating, I had to make more than 45 samples to find the right aspect, because they wanted some three-dimensional and also some gloss. And the fabric is wool and really absorbent. So it was really not easy. So I had to do a 2-layer print, the first layer for the 3D and the second layer for the gloss. And you cannot do those two techniques with the same kind of screen. So I had to make all the screens in double. And this coat is made of 17 pieces of fabric. So it means 17 patterns, 17 screens, times 2 because of the 2 layers. So it's 34 screens. So it becomes really interesting how print, which is very often considered a cheap technique, can become couture. So for me, it's just a really amazing project. So other examples of trompe-l'œil, sequins print, airbrush drapery, or broderie anglaise done chemically with burnout. I'm very interested by the technique of dévorer, burnout technique. And most of the time, we work on mixed textile, and we remove one part of the fiber. In this case, I really wanted to work on hybridation. And so I decided to work on double layer fabric. So on the first image, it's pure wool and pure cotton. They are glued together with the print, and then the cotton is burned out. So I have a kind of appliqué. And what really is interesting to me is that I can combine winter textile with summer textile, and I can make really hybrids. Or I can combine apparel textile and upholstery textile. I feel really free to combine whatever I want. Transitioning, it's the same idea, but instead of using a pattern, it's a gradient. It's a much simple pattern. So the idea was really to make a transition between a stripe, pinstripe, wool fabric to a summery flower fabric. I've been working also a lot of subtractive techniques. Most of the time when you print, you add something to the textile. In this case, we remove something from the textile. So on the left, you see another work for Maison Margiela. It's bleach on wool and on cotton, on checks. So there is always something unpredictable. It's always really exciting to do this kind of project. And on the right, it's a demetallization technique. So it's a print that removes the metallic effect of the lurex. This is another savoir-faire of the studio, which I called wavy lace. Starting from a simple weave, it's printed and manipulated. The manipulation opens the weaves and create this wavy effect. So it's really the weft of the weave that is going to become wavy. In my artwork, I've been doing a little bit of embroidery also, and I like to work with waste. In this case, all the little beads that you see are fish bones. So it's really waste, and then by the embroidery, you can really give this precious effect. Still one of my artwork, from miserable to sublime. This is a body bag that is made in that crackled gold velvet. The idea was really to give dignity to all the migrants that died in the sea. Because we've seen those images of body bags everywhere, and it was so disgusting to me that I really wanted to make something with this. My last collaboration with Maison Margiela, last artisanal collection, it's a 15 months research. So it's like 2.5 seasons. It's a felt resist technique. On the right, you see how the one piece of the jacket is glued together with wool, and then the wool are felted, and because of the pattern, it really creates the garment like a sculpture. So all the shrinking is made by felting, and it's really working together with the pattern and the shrinking and the material. It was a very complex research. For 9 months, we've tried many different textiles and many different patterns. And then for the last 6 months, it was only variation of the 2 designs that were selected. But that's really the time that creation takes. So we made more than 40 jackets, and 5 of them were on the fashion show. Some of them were worn inside out, and others the right way around. From patrimony to contemporary creation, that's the last personal project I've done. There was a contest organized by the City of Brussels and Mad Brussels for a new textile artwork for the City Hall of Brussels. So it's the wedding hall, and there was embroidery since 1897 that was at that spot, and they had to remove it for conservation reasons. And so I won this contest, and I was really happy to integrate one of my artwork together with the patrimonial room. And because I wanted to make something really simple, I had to find a balance between what was already in the room and this new work. And so I played really on the extreme shine for the simplicity to become as strong as the decorum that was already there. My last slide is about to acquire knowledge and pass it on. I had the chance to have a wonderful printing and ennoblement teacher, Françoise Derlin, and I learned so much from her that today it's also my job to pass what I learned from her and also what I learned on my own. So I'm always really happy to welcome groups in my studio and to give workshops in different places. So thank you, Lee, thank you, Philippe, and thank you to everyone, to all the viewers.
Danielle, this was a masterclass. I thank you so much. There's so many things I didn't even know. are possible with print. I think it opened completely our minds about that part of the profession. That's really wonderful. That really makes a big difference, I think, for all of us, because it's sublime. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So of course this